Hey everyone. So today I want to talk about a well-known YouTuber, one that is almost at 1 million subscribers. She would be at 1 million if she hadn't have lied about a certain trans woman. Her name, the person that we're talking about today, is Blaire White. Blaire White is a well-known conservative YouTuber who is also a writer for I forget which publication because I don't care. One of the things that I want to kind of piggyback this conversation with is the idea of internalized transphobia. And the reason for it I say this is because Blaire White recently was on a discussion with 4 total conservatives arguing. One of them was John Doyle, who is a known white supremacist, at least in my humble opinion. One of them was Karolyn Boroshenko, who is an industrial and organized psychologist for all they're worth. I'm sure there's some really nice ones out there, but yeah, she's interesting, I guess. But like, and Blaire, and then another lady who's blonde, who, as far as I know, is basically just a neo-Nazi. I don't know, allegedly. Regardless, in this discussion, one of the things that happened is Blaire essentially was sort of yelled at that she was essentially, you know, a degenerate and a pedo and all these other things. Pretty typical right-wing stuff. Why do these people do this? Well, before that video came out, you can find that on Demon Mama's channel or Vosh's channel. I'm not going to cover it today. The thing I want to cover instead is something that happened on our channel. And that is that the video that recently came out about Super Straight and the nonsense that it is, that A, it's a dog whistle, B, it's to attack trans people, and C, this is a creation by 4chan. This video essentially kind of broke down how that is and why this doesn't make sense either as a sexuality that is based on, again, the notions of what a minority or a marginalized group is. And it is basically just utterly nonsensical. Also, the fact that his name is SS is, yeah, you get the gig. But Blaire White decided to sound off on that. And again, internalized transphobia is a bitch. So let's watch.
I'm super straight. I only date the opposite gender, women, that are born women. So you can't say I'm transphobic now because that's
I super can.
just my sexuality, you know?
So if you're heterosexual and you're a man and you said you wouldn't date a trans woman because it's a preference.
Oops, I forgot to put the thing down. I am bad at this. There we go. Now you can see it.
That's just transphobia, period.
The reason that we're so pissed off about this trend is because it's definitely to make fun of us.
Hey guys, welcome back to my main channel. So the girls are mad. The girls are fighting. The girls are battling. There is a new sexuality, because of course there always is, going viral online.
So immediately we're minimizing, and immediately we're getting into the thing where she's now comparing it to any other sexuality, when in fact, this is not something that's been like studied or brought up. This is literally just transphobic hate speech. So let's go on.
Getting a lot of popularity and traction and new people identifying as it, and it is called super straight.
Wow. Really? The glitter noise? Okay.
So super straight is pretty much exactly as it sounds. It is super straight people. It is people who do not have any attraction to or date trans people. So clearly this is going to be a war. This all started on TikTok, which, follow me on TikTok, by the way. I am on TikTok, unfortunately. So it's only right that we show the video that started it. Here we go.
Yo guys, I made a new sexuality now, actually. It's called super straight, okay? Since straight people or straight men as myself, I get called transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans woman. You know, they're like, would you date a trans woman? I'm like, no, why? That's a female. No, like, that's not a real woman to me. Like, I want real woman. No, you're just transphobic. So now, I'm super straight. I only date the opposite gender, women, that are born women. So you can't say I'm transphobic now because that's...
I super can. So let's break down this argument because I think it's really important to explore this. So if you don't want to date trans people, that's fine. It's a little bigoted, but I'm not going to like hold it against you. You're allowed to date who you want. Have fun. But when you say in your premise that the reason you don't date trans women is because you don't see them as real women, that is that the actual identity they live by is not necessarily real to you, that is transphobia. By saying they are not enough woman for you, you are being a transphobic douchebag. Does that make sense? And so I don't care what title you put it under. I don't care if you want to discuss genital preferences. I don't care if you want to discuss ways in which someone is basically feeling kind of uncomfortable because they don't really understand trans people. They don't get it. That's fine. But when you get into this thing where your essential premise is, I only date real women, immediately this is about transphobia. And notice his language. It's almost like he's really trying to, you can see it here.
That's just my sexuality, you know?
Like, look at that face. Is that the face of a person who's not bullshitting? This is troll logic, right? Like, this is the logic of a person who hates trans people, and he's basically trying to make an argument using the LGBT argumentation to justify his transphobia. Except the problem is that the argument falls apart. One, because this is not a marginalized or minority group. Two, we're not in any way talking about this from the perspective of you happen to be attracted to this group. It's specifically, you don't see certain people as their gender. And thus, you are essentially saying that those people don't meet your criteria for attraction. That is transphobic by its very nature.
So this video has amassed millions and millions of views and a ton of responses and has started an entire movement. Apparently they also have their own flag, which I do have to say, you know, I respect the super straights. Like,
it's the Pornhub colors. Hooray! Where you can find the best representation of trans people.
Oh no, are they really?
I mean, yeah, those are the Pornhub colors. By the way, folks, Zena's here.
Hi, friends.
But like, because we just got done with a how to find a therapist video. But seriously, though, I think that's the Pornhub colors. I think I've seen that joke a couple places. So let's move on.
I'm not super phobic, but I will say those are the colors of Grindr, the gay dating app.
That is also the colors of Grindr. Well put. And also, Blaire, why are you on Grindr? You're a woman. Hi, Funky Thought. You're cute and wonderful, and you're great.
So, you know, I do suggest a rebrand on the flag. So while this clearly started out as a meme and as a joke, it has revealed a lot about the woke side of the LGBT community. A lot of people are really showing their hands and reacting to it as if it wasn't a joke, and now it's kind of become something that isn't even a joke, and now it's serious. It's just, that's the beauty of memes, really. Like, it can start as a meme and then suddenly it's real life.
Hold on. Elizabeth said you know why she's on Grindr, and I get it. If you have so much internalized transphobia that you think you are just a man pretending to be a woman, one, you're going against the consensus of psychology, medicine, sociology, so on. But yeah, if you're looking for people that are going to treat you like a fetish object and essentially like treat you as a man who's pretending, you know, then by definition, yeah, you're going to go on probably Grindr because you're looking to get fucked and probably degraded. I don't know. I'm not trying to kink shame anyone. I just think this is really, the fact that she's not immediately against this just shows how much she's unwilling to actually defend the rest of the trans community. Like, she tries to be the bastion of like, what is trans and acceptable, and yet like, all she does is basically like mean girl people. Like, you're not as pretty as me, so fuck off. Or, hey guys, Trump's not that bad with the LGBT, even though he was demonstrably terrible. Let's go on.
When memes become real life. It has made a lot of people in the trans community and the LGBT
Is this real life? Is this fantasy? No, it's Patrick.
community very mad.
The reason that we're so pissed off about this trend is because it's definitely to make fun of us. It's not to be a legitimate thing.
True.
The reason that they're saying super straight and making it like a flag and all that stuff is to make us upset. Now on to the legitimacy of that attraction thing. What is the thing that identifies a trans woman over a regular woman? Name something.
And apparently the originator of Super Straight has been getting a ton of death threats from activists, and his mother's business is being threatened with fake reviews, just bombarded. And I'm just really confused because why would the community of love and acceptance and that believes in not shaming people for their sexuality be sending death threats?
So I'm never going to justify anyone ever sending anyone a fucking death threat. Let me be very clear on that. As much as I dislike this kid and think that he's absolutely, like, toxic as fuck, the fact is I'm never going to justify a death threat or the attacks on his mom's business. What I will say is this. There's a very large correlation between being transgender and having trauma. Now, let me be clear. Trauma does not cause you to be fucking trans. However, the fact is that a lot of us, because we are trans, have been treated poorly, or we're treated poorly for other reasons, and we just happen to be trans. So I can imagine someone dealing with a trauma reaction, basically losing it about this stuff by finding this kid and trying to actually fix this situation by outing him as whatever he is, a neo-Nazi, a white supremacist, or whatever. The fact of the matter is we can't justify death threats or attacks against him and his mom. What I can say, though, is I think he absolutely should be, called out. Now, that being said, this argument about us being the community of love and acceptance, Blaire, we are the community of love and acceptance when someone's a marginalized group. The fact of the matter is you don't seem to fucking understand this. Because let's be super clear. Being super straight is not by any stretch of the imagination a thing because it does not meet the criteria of any other identity. This is not a minority group. They are not marginalized for their identity. Calling someone transphobic because they can't accept that a trans woman's a woman like you, Blaire, is calling out transphobia. It's not a sexuality. And if these motherfuckers didn't even know that the trans girl in question was a trans girl and she was post-op, spoiler, they wouldn't give a shit. And honestly, some of them would want her pre-op. This is the problem with this shit. I mean, how many times do we have to see conservatives and fucking Nazis come out as, like, dating femboys or, like, jerking it to T-girl porn? Like, this is a problem. And honestly, like, Blaire's unwillingness to call this out is just, it's utterly confusing. I'm not going to ever justify death threats against someone, but the reason why the community of love and acceptance isn't happy with this is the same reason we're not happy with you, Blaire. Because you are doing demonstrable harm to people. Don't believe me? Ask Janae Kroc.
That's weird. To all the people who are super straight, remember, you are transphobic.
True.
You are desperate for attention.
True.
You aren't part of the LGBTQ plus community.
True.
You are making a mockery of the LGBTQ plus community. You
Double
aren't
true.
depressed. Just out with it and say you're transphobic. So
Yup.
I think what makes this troll so effective is that it has really lured people into reacting to it as if it's real, and now it kind of is. And the fact that people are upset over this new sexuality being created is a little hypocritical coming from the folks who created abrosexual, demisexual, gerontosexual, gynosexual, intrasexual.
So let's be very clear. Not all terminologies and identities are created equal. I know that's going to be a shit to your take, but, like, this is the thing. Yeah, she does admit it's a troll, Elizabeth. Like, it just is. Like, full stop. It's a troll. But here's the thing. Yes, not all those terms are going to make it in the long run. People create new terms as a means by which to explain an experience, an internal intuition as to how they experience the world. And if the current labels that exist do not meet them, they will then create new ones to have better description. Do I think things like gynosexual or various other terms like that are going to stick around? Probably not. Do I think demisexual will? Yeah, because it seems to have enough preponderance of people that's describing their experiences of attraction. That's the thing. The reason why these terms are given legitimacy is based on the number of people that support them and based on the number of people who have a unified experience. I don't think everybody's going to go behind gynosexual or whatever other one she fucking mentioned. But what's going to happen is some of these are going to resonate and they might have to be reconsidered. This is what happened with the LGBT community for years. This is why ace matters. This is why being queer matters. This is why being demi matters. This is why being pan matters. Because the original acronym does not serve us. And these were real, demonstrable experiences people were having. This is just how this works.
calosexual, multisexual, pomosexual, sapiosexual.
I swear to God, she's on the LGBTQ wiki and just going through, like, she's gonna say anime sexual, I know it.
And literally hundreds more. I am not exaggerating. There are hundreds. And like, even though super straight is a joke, the irony is that is a lot more valid than a lot of those I just listed. Actually, all of them. Y'all are releasing new sexualities more than I even release videos. Like, it's your
Well, you didn't release videos for quite some time because you were being, like, dragged by the community for lying about people. I mean, you did the same thing to Riley Dennis, but then you did it to Janae Kroc, and then you lost 100,000 subs and lost your 1 million subscriber. So, just saying, Blaire, like, your upload history has a reason why it got so slow about 2 months ago. But even then, like, this notion of us creating new ones, again, that's the difference. These are marginalized people trying to describe an experience. This is basic fucking stuff, Blaire. You know better. But instead, you're going to pretend it's all just fucking transgender nonsense so that you can lose your shit about it and act stupid. Like, come on now, Blaire. Like, this is, you know better. You're smarter than this.
full-time job. But you freak out when someone else does it, make it make sense. It's obvious.
I will make it make sense, because this is very clearly from a post on 4chan, and even if that post is falsified, the fact of the matter is it rings just like the bullshit they did as the alt-right in 2016. It's the attack through memification. And what it essentially is creating a sort of idea about justifying people who don't want to actually date trans people. If you don't want to date trans people, as I've said before, that's fine. Don't fucking come near me. But the fact is that if your reasoning is because I'm not a woman, you fucking lost the plot. Like, that's what it is. It's not just someone created a new sexuality, Blaire. It's that they're creating one that justifies their fucking bullshit. And I guarantee you a number of the fucking redneck hicks and stupid-ass conservatives that voted for Trump would immediately identify this as a lulz just to fuck with people. Again, it doesn't meet the minority claim. It doesn't meet the marginalized claim. What it means is people are being called out for their transphobia and you're choosing not to actually acknowledge it because it would go against your fucking bottom line.
Obviously completely valid to exclude trans people from your dating pool if you're not attracted to them, and anyone who says otherwise is honestly kind of rapey. The fact that people equate it to hate—
No, they're not. No, what, Blaire, stop it. Like, you know better. The idea that excluding trans people by telling people they can't exclude trans people, that they're being somehow rapey, no one's telling them they have to fuck every trans person they come across, Blaire. Like you get that, right? The reason why this clearly comes down to the way it is because no one's arguing about genital preference. No one's arguing about whether you want to date trans people or not. What we're arguing is, does this meet the criteria of another sexuality? And is this valid by its own premises? And based on the dumbass kid on TikTok, the fact is it doesn't. Because it does not meet the base criteria of being a sexuality. Because it's not based on, I just happen to be attracted to this group of people. It's based on, I'm attracted to this group of people because I don't see this other group of people as their identity. It's built, Blaire, on transphobia. And the fact that you won't speak about it shows just how much you've internalized that shit and why you didn't speak up during that debate. Elizabeth said, the issue is that these chuds can't or won't discern the difference between just not wanting intercourse with a trans person and denying a trans woman's womanhood. Fucking true.
Hatred automatically kind of makes me hate them. Like, I am not attracted to—
It's okay, Blaire, we feel the same.
Contrary to popular belief, I post all the time with my best friend JC. People think he's my boyfriend, he's not. Like, it doesn't make me ableist or anti-little people if I don't want to date a little person or if I simply am not attracted to them because I like tall men. God, I love tall men. And even if super straight is a—
We know, Blaire. We know. I don't think those things are equivalent. I think those things are equivalent. I just don't. The idea that you are super straight, that is, you don't want to date trans women despite the fact that they perform and act as women, is not the same thing as liking tall men. We're talking about the difference of an affectation and attraction versus, again, whether or not someone is acknowledging your identity. Because if, and this is the test, Blaire, I know you're having a hard time with this, but bear with me. if someone sees you and doesn't realize you're the famous Blaire White, they don't realize you're a trans woman, and they want to fuck you, then by definition, they're attracted to your femininity. They are believing your identity. And if that changes the moment they hear the word trans, that's fucking gross, Blaire.
Joke, it's still born out of something very real, which is the frustration that people are feeling from having their sexual orientation invalidated to validate the feelings of other people. Like, insisting that you have to be attracted to trans people if you're straight.
I don't even know where that comes from, but this is literally just not true. And I want to know the percentage of these men. Like, you can even see where it was edited at the bottom. Holy shit. But, like, here's the thing. Like, even let's assume for a moment that this premise is true. I'll walk with you to that pier. The fact of the matter is, how many of these guys are jerking off to fucking T-girl porn on Pornhub? Right? Like, really? That's what thing?
Straight. How can you guys be mad if people who are not attracted to trans people make a new sexuality and like, okay, y'all can have straight, I'm super straight then? Like, there have been worse ideas. I'm just gonna say this, and people can be so mad, I don't care.
I agree, your channel.
In my opinion, straight men who are attracted to trans women, they're somewhere on the Kinsey scale, okay? Like,
and this is the problem. I want to rewind that just a little bit. I want to back that up because she's bringing Kinsey into this. Kinsey didn't ask for this. Let's talk about fucking Kinsey for a minute.
People make a new sexuality and like, okay, y'all can have straight, I'm super straight then. Like, there have been worse ideas. I'm just gonna say this, and people can be so mad, I don't care. In my opinion, straight men who are attracted to trans women, they're somewhere on the Kinsey scale, okay? Like, they are not perfectly straight.
And this is the fucking problem. Blaire White does not believe her own fucking transness, and this is the internalized transphobia. To say that men that are attracted to her are somewhere on the Kinsey scale because they aren't perfectly straight, by definition, not only is like organ essentialism, essentially, the idea that like based on the genitals you have, that's what you are, but on top of that, it's presuming that her identity isn't real. If guys want to have sex with Blaire, and God help them, but if they do, and Blaire by definition thinks that they are somewhere in the middle of the Kinsey scale somewhere because she's a trans woman, she doesn't even believe her own transition. Do you get that? Like, do you understand how frustrating that is? Because at the base of it, we're not dealing with a person who actually understands these issues. We're not dealing with a person that actually understands her own identity. This is something entirely for her, but what it's led to is this bizarre contradiction where Blaire claims to be a trans woman, but then can't in any way acknowledge that she's actually a woman. Like, this is the problem with Blaire. This is literally what we see as internalized transphobia. This is the same shit Calvin Gara does when he attacks a goddamn non-binary person. This is the same shit Rose of Dawn does when she's talking about, you know, women who, you know, trans women who are about to transition looking like bull seals. I'm not going to do her accent. It's impossible. But yeah, this is the thrust of the narrative. Blaire White doesn't believe she's a woman.
I don't care. It is what it is. That includes any man I've ever been with who liked me because I'm trans. They're somewhere on the Kinsey scale. It doesn't make...
And if they liked you because you're trans, not because you're a woman, we have a name for those, Blaire. They're called chasers. Seriously. If they liked you because you're trans, not because you're a woman, but because you're trans. If they spent their whole time just checking out the goods, that's fine if you're into that, Blaire. I'm not going to partake, but you do you, girl. But those are chasers. You're basing your sexual experience on chasers, not on actual men who are attracted to your femininity. Do you think that's weird, Blaire?
Make them gay, it doesn't make them bisexual, but they are not clearly 110% straight.
Absolutely are if they are there because you're a woman. If they are there because you are, say, trans, no, they're not 100% straight, but they're also being kind of gross and fetishizing.
And to deny that. Why would you deny that?
I will deny that because that's literally not how words work, Blaire. That's not how definitions work. And your little clap close-up right there, while adorable, does not in any way make your argument stronger. It just makes you seem like that chick that sits in the front of the classroom that talks shit about all the other girls. Like, let's be clear. That wasn't an argument. You just clapped. Men who like trans women because they're attracted to women are not somewhere on the Kinsey scale unless they identify as such. They can. I'm sure there's many men, cis or trans, who like dating everybody on the spectrum. But that doesn't mean that if they're dating a trans woman, they're dating her because they're a chaser. They may just be attracted to that femininity. And this is where Blaire's thing falls apart. She is internally inconsistent because her internalized transphobia shows its ugly little head.
Maybe straight is the best possible word for you, but you're clearly still 1 or 2 points to the left of perfectly straight on the Kinsey scale. And that's okay.
Wrong.
Why is every sexual preference okay, except for not finding trans people hot? And as a certified...
And this is basic conservatism coming up. I don't want to actually engage with it, so I'm going to ask a really rhetorical question that tries to make this look like it's absurd, but in reality it's not, because I just don't want to answer it. Like, the reason I already described. This is not a created sexuality. This is a troll, and you fucking know it, Blaire. You said as much earlier.
Certified card-carrying trans testicle, I do have to say, I would never want to be with a man who felt like he had to go on a date with me or had to entertain the idea of being with me simply for...
And there's the straw man. Nobody's ever felt like they had to go on a date with anyone. But if the reason they don't want to date you is because you are a trans woman, by definition, that's where we get into problems. Blaire, I don't know why you can't understand this argument. In fact, I'm going to make this claim. I believe you fully understand this argument, but because it goes against your bottom line and your overall rhetoric, you're going to throw this out there.
For woke points or to avoid being called a bigot. That's just pathetic. You really need to
No one does that,
and as
Blaire.
trans
You're an
people,
idiot.
we should have enough confidence to say, it's okay if I am not your preference. I'm my own preference. I like me. You don't have to like me. Why is everyone so concerned with who's labeled what and who fucks who and blah, blah, blah? Like, mind your business. Maybe the reason why no one wants to date you isn't because of your gender, but because you're an unlikable.
Oh my God, the projection. Oh my, like, I don't know if anyone else is getting upset by this, but I find myself just so frustrated with her projection. You're being an unlikable C word. Like, that's why people don't want to date you. No one is saying you have to date anybody. No one is saying that you in any way have to, like, be engaged one way or the other. And yet she's just throwing this argument out there and trying to look cute about it because she knows it'll get her a little head pat.
Consider, for all the straight and non-trans people watching, I'm going to offer you maybe some perspective. Like, I understand, being trans myself, why other trans people do this, like, whole,
Nice
like,
pull there,
you
go
have to date
off.
trans people, you're transphobic, you're a bigot. I understand why they do it. It's born out of severe insecurity. It's born out of the need to seek validation from others. Some trans people, insecure trans people, really, really, really need to believe that they are 100% man or woman, depending on where they're transitioning to. And they may get that validation from people that they're dating or people they're pursuing.
They
or
are. That's how
pursuing
gender
them.
identity
But
works,
that's
Blaire.
toxic, trans or not trans. You should not get validation from men. I don't need to validate myself by exclaiming how bad straight men want me.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That was a pivot. Funky, I believe this is projection. I'll be honest. I absolutely believe this is projection. Because her statement about being an unlikable cunt, like, I think that's literally just her doing the thing. If you want me to go into specifics as what I think is actually happening, I can talk more about this at the end. But yeah, she just pivoted. Notice that rhetorical technique. She basically just went from, well, we can't force anyone to sleep with us. That would be wrong. We can't force people to be woke. Versus this idea that I want to back up on that because I want to make sure I understand exactly what she said.
People that they're dating or people they're pursuing or are pursuing them. But that's toxic, trans or not trans. You should.
So the pivot there was her going to, no one should force anyone to sleep with them. to asking for validation from people is bad and toxic, which I would argue is probably true. Sleeping with men just to get validation, but you literally just described yourself as sleeping with chasers. So let's think about that. The reason why trans people may want people to validate their gender is because the fact of the matter is they either A, that's important to them, or B, have dysphoria, right? Like that's the argument. The fact that she's like, well, they need to be 100% validated as men or women. Yeah. Just like non-binary people need to be 100% validated that they're valid. This is not hard.
Not get validation from men. I don't need to validate myself by exclaiming how bad straight men want me. I don't need to validate myself by saying gay men don't want me. I know who wants me. I know who doesn't want me. Your husband wants me. Just kidding. You have to just be okay with you. And if you're not okay with you, then you probably are going to be the type that thinks that people who don't want to date you have some kind.
I'm not going to lie. I really loathe Blaire, but that joke was fantastic. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Never think that I am in any way biased. I may dislike everything she said here, but that joke was pretty good.
Kind of hatred or have it out for you. Interestingly, there's also a super gay and super lesbian hashtag that's growing, because this isn't even just about straight people. Like, this also applies to gays and lesbians. Like, lesbians who are not attracted to trans women, gay men who are not attracted to trans men. These people are being...
I hadn't heard about this shit, and it sounds like turf logic. This is turf logic. Oh my god.
Told they have to be as well. And it's honestly one of the most toxic elements of the whole gender ideology debate. Anytime you're trying to control or police who dates who has
no one
sexual
is.
relations
We're just
with
pointing
who,
out the transphobia
like, you're
involved,
creepy
Blaire.
and you're a problem. I remember growing up when there was a lot more common to have, like, you know, evangelical and super religious people trying to police how gay people shouldn't be with, you know, members of the same sex. And, you know, I hated that and I fought against that. That's a little less common now than y'all, little wokies, who are trying to police now sexuality and who is with who. Stop. It's creepy. It's rapey. And it's so overdone. It's so overblown. And this whole debate has been going on for years, and it's like, what is going to stop it? What is going to be the nail in the coffin that we don't have to talk about this anymore? And speaking on the super gay and super lesbian, I've met 2 gay men in my life who are attracted to trans men. I had a gay best friend for a while that I'm now kind of distant from, but we were best friends for a long time, and he is the gayest person I know. Like, crazy about men. As a man, he is crazy about men, okay? Super gay. Super gay. And one night when we were drinking, he confessed to me that sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, he finds attraction in trans men and would like to be with a trans man and watches certain videos online about...
Why is that like a hidden thing? Like, I have a thing to tell you, Blaire. I'm a gay man, and I like trans men because I like men, and they're men. Please don't tell anyone. Like, what is that? Holy shit! I don't know how much more of this I can do, folks. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to make it through all the way, but she is infuriating.
Trans men. And I was gagged, but it kind of made sense because there are a lot of men who are only with biological women who also would try out a trans woman. Kinsey scale, like, go figure, a lot of people are somewhere on the Kinsey scale. They're not perfectly one thing or the other. But if you are perfectly one thing or the other, why can't you say that? Most trans people I've known in my life and that I've met, like, they don't actually believe this. They don't actually think you're not transphobic if you're not into trans people. A huge chunk of people who are saying this crap, that you're a bigot if you don't date trans people, they're not even trans. They're just speaking on our behalf, like this lovely woman.
Let me break this down. Trans women are women. So if you're heterosexual and you're a man and you said you wouldn't date a trans woman because it's a preference, that's just transphobia, period.
Girl, bye. You are not even trans. There's enough of us making us look bad. We don't need you coming in. Sorry. Bye. Nice try, but bye. So here are a couple of reasons why someone would maybe not want to date a trans person. These are valid reasons and they're not hate-based. So the first is having kids. It is a difficulty having...
By the way, just so people knew, the reason why the chat disappeared is because I realized my coloring is pink because I like pink a lot. And I realized her background was consuming your guys' comments. Funky Thought said, yup, the basis of the troll is very real transphobia. It's not taking the troll too serious to point that out. Yeah, right? Like, again, I'm not going to defend anyone attacking this kid or anything. I do think he should be called the fuck out, but I don't, like, this falls apart on its face. I can't with her. I'm good. So we're going to call that there because I feel like that really does get to the point. Here's my problem. Blaire White, by definition, does not understand trans issues, and I believe that in a lot of ways she's sort of there to not only create a justification to bring over trans people to conservative movements, but also in a lot of ways she's there because she is one of the perfect sort of cheerleaders for this. She's catty, she's pretty, she's everything, and that's cool. Be catty, be pretty. But when you activate and act those things out towards trans people, we have a fucking problem. Yeah. My final thoughts on this, as far as it being a thing, is that super straight is still bullshit. And the fact of the matter is that anyone that says otherwise is fucking lying. Or they are so deeply, deeply self-hating that they are incapable of understanding the actual issue. As the people in the chat said, it is not taking shit too seriously to point out the fact that this isn't based on just, this is who I like to fuck. This is based on who... Sorry, the cop car got to me. I was like, are they coming to take me away? Is it trans jail? What's happening? But this is based on not just who I'm attracted to. It's based specifically around exclusion of a group who identifies the same. And if your only argument for trans women is, well, they're not really women, then it's transphobia. If your argument is, I just don't find trans women attractive, bullshit. Because a lot of those guys are watching your channel, Blaire, and would jump at the chance. Right? Like, any of these super straight kids would really like to know what they think of Blaire. Because I have a feeling that their search history might be very different than what they're reporting. So yeah,